Hey guys, it's Captain Forest here, and today I'm back with a spicy Christmas special. I'm here with a Marvel vs DC matchup. I'll be going over who I think wins more often than not. Iceman versus Killer Frost. Now if you guys are new to my channel, please subscribe, leave a like and comment down below. Also, if you guys would like to request matchups and purchase them, please hit me up. My Discord tag is in the description, and of course I have my Cash App if you guys are interested in supporting me on a personal level. Also, shoutouts to the coffee shop gang, they make awesome content. Shoutouts to everyone else, and also shoutouts to the HQ squad. They help me with my research, and they help me with scripts and prep with my videos. So yeah, much appreciated by those guys. Let's get right into the meat and potatoes of things. Let's find out who would win. So I'm going to start off with Iceman. I'm going to go over some of his stuff, and then after that I'm going to talk about Killer Frost. So Iceman has demonstrated some really impressive showings with his ice. He's been able to freeze the Hulk momentarily in ice. He has frozen the Thing solid, which was very impressive. He was also able to take out a clone of She-Hulk with his ice. It was also noted that this clone of She-Hulk was equal to that of the real Thing, which is very impressive. She-Hulk is a powerhouse herself. Iceman has demonstrated that his ice is very powerful to the point where he's able to push back a weakened Juggernaut. He's been able to bully Juggernaut consistently with his ice. He's BFR'd the Juggernaut too with his ice, trap him in ice, which is very impressive. Now when it comes to Iceman, when he gets serious and when he enters into his peak potential, this is him at his best. He's demonstrated some really good feats, especially against Thor. He's been able to restrain Thor in his ice constructs. He was able to freeze and affect Thor's own organs and his brain, his blood, all of that. This is impressive. And Iceman is also demonstrated when he starts to get going, or when he gets annoyed or bloodlusted, he's demonstrated to freeze Legion completely solid, and he literally freezed all of Legion's body on a molecular level. And this is impressive because Legion is a very powerful mutant. He's an Omega level mutant with reality warping powers. For all these feats that I've mentioned, there are levels to Iceman's AP, and there's just levels to his ice manipulation. There's some low end feats for him, so there's some like town, city level, mountain level feats, but those are like really like low ends, like at his like very like suppressed state when he's just based in his base form. But when he's agitated, annoyed, or when he fights his opponents more seriously, he's demonstrated to show really impressive feats. So he can range from at least universal plus, multiversal plus. He can easily reach levels of high hyperversal, even higher than that depending on your interpretation of scaling, which is very impressive. Now let's talk about speed. So Iceman should have MFTL plus reaction speed or immeasurable speed. He's quick enough to freeze characters like Wolverine, Juggernaut, Thor, Hulk, etc. He's been able to tag them with ice consistently, and we all know that Hulk and Thor can go at it, which is very impressive. And Wolverine himself has immeasurable speed feats as well, or irrelevant speed, but that's more of a high end, not too consistent, especially moving around in limbo, which is very impressive. So these are just some levels of speed where we can get Iceman around, which is very impressive. Now moving on to Iceman's hexes. So Iceman's mutant power allows him to manipulate and turn his whole body into ice. He can create ice constructs for combat and ice barriers for protection. He can create ice clones, fire giant ice beams from his hands, and he can also create an area of effect with his ice. And his ice is shown to freeze things on a molecular level, which is very impressive. He can freeze the molecules in the air and inside your body. He can also freeze and target vital organs and blood in your body and freeze that too. And he can freeze his opponents just by touching them alone. His ice has also been demonstrated to reach absolute zero temperatures, and he can breathe in space. He's able to reform his body from just water and vapor in the atmosphere. As long as water exists or any type of moisture in the surrounding area, just anywhere in the world, he can just reform his body back, which is very impressive. And he's also demonstrated some transmutation, so he can turn ice into water, which is very impressive. And last but not least, Iceman does have spiritual ice as well. It was able to freeze some of the hellfire in hell, which is very impressive. And we all know that hellfire is spiritual in nature, as it can burn souls. So that's going to round up Iceman. I'm going to go ahead and talk about Killer Frost herself. So in terms of AP for her ice and absorbing powers, she would be around Universal Plus to Multiversal Plus at best. She was able to hurt Cyborg with her ice powers and absorb his life force, and Cyborg can physically damage Shazam, who can hurt Superman. She was also able to absorb Superman's energy, and her ice was strong enough to freeze all of the Justice League members, and she was able to absorb Green Lantern energy from Kyle's construct, which is impressive because Green Lantern's rings are extra dimensional, so she would consistently be around Universal Plus. She can scale higher into Multi Plus, but that depends on who she's absorbing energy from, so just a standard base form consistently is Uni Plus. So moving on with her speed, she should easily have immeasurable speed, possibly irrelevant speed. She can match with Cyborg and tag him. This same Cyborg can keep up and tag Shazam, who has his own immeasurable and irrelevant speed scaling, and her ice was also able to tag all of the Justice League members, which even included the Flash. Even the Flash couldn't get past that ice, that area of effect. Very impressive. So moving on to her ice powers. So Killer Frost can do some crazy things with her ice. She uses her ice quite creatively, so I'll pretty much go down some of the basics and some of the really impressive stuff that she's showing. So like any other ice user, she can freeze you in place, she can freeze you on a cellular level, and her ice can reach like area of effect ranges too, which is very impressive. She can create and form ice around her arms, create ice spears and constructs, and attack her opponents too. She can create ice barriers. She's able to freeze people from a distance and also freeze them upon skin contact. She's also demonstrated to create clusters of ice shards and shoot them at you, and she can transmutate your body into icicles, and her ice also affects you on a spiritual level, as she was able to freeze Eclipso, which was very impressive. She's also been able to demonstrate to freeze the air around you, freeze the air molecules. She can literally cut off your air supply, causing you to suffocate, and that's pretty much it for her ice powers. That's more of her really cool powers that she's demonstrating some feats with her ice. I'm going to move on to her more potent ability. The very thing that keeps Killer Frost alive and also increases her ice powers is the ability to absorb heat. She has demonstrated to absorb the life energy and the heat from people and plants. She's demonstrated this feat where she enters inside the sun and was absorbing the heat from it. Firestorm was confident that she could absorb the whole thing, which was very impressive, and she was also able to absorb heat from Firestorm, which almost made him revert back to normal, which is crazy. Now repulsion on to resistances, so Killer Frost has shown to resist fear hacks and transmutation. Terra Smith can change your biology of a mindless reptile with just a touch, and he can manifest your fears, and it did nothing to Killer Frost. She ended up bullying him in the end. So that's going to round up Killer Frost's scaling and what she can do. I'm going to go ahead and break this fight down. So going over AP, if we go off like the low end stuff for Iceman, she should have the AP advantage if we use like mountain level stuff, town and city with his area of effect of ice. But if we go off his more impressive showings, his Uni Plus, Multiversal Plus showings, especially him affecting the Thing, bullying Juggernaut around, which is impressive. There's been a point where he's bullied Juggernaut when he wasn't weakened. You could argue that easily Iceman would be above Killer Frost in AP, so it's definitely evident even in base when he's not motivated, even when he's just standard. There's some really good feats for him. So he definitely could have the AP advantage, or they could be relative if you try to meet the middle ground. But if you try to give him their high ends, he'd scale higher than Killer Frost in terms of AP. So in terms of like where I think they would be around, and based off consistency from what I've seen for Iceman, even when he's not motivated at his peak, just him casually freezing Hulk, freezing the Thing could get out, and Thing is literally beating up Hulk, and he's scrapped with Hulk many times, and he's taken a beating from Hulk too, and just freezing and bullying like Juggernaut as well. I feel that Iceman may have the edge in AP, so I think he takes AP. Now with Killer Frost, yes, I think Universal Plus is more consistent for her. She can reach Multiversal Plus, but that depends on if she's absorbing energy. Her AP fluctuates when she absorbs energy, so it can reach those levels of AP and reach those levels of potency if she absorbs someone. So it just does depend on the context and what's happening to her. So in this situation, since there's not going to be any prep, stand battle assumptions, I think Iceman has the AP edge in my eyes. Now speed, I do think Killer Frost may be a little faster than Bobby himself, than Iceman. The higher end speed stuff for Iceman, it's a little wonky. I don't think it's very consistent. I think that Killer Frost would be able to get the attack in first. I think she's a bit swifter, especially with Cyborg scrapping with him, which is impressive. And also her ice was fast enough to also tag the Justice League too. And when she does get amped, it doesn't amp her speed. When she absorbs energy, it just increases the potency of her ice. So she was able to tag them all, which is very impressive. So yeah, let's get right into the meat potatoes. So in combat now, you know, both ice users, they'll both start using ice attacks, you know, using ice manipulation a lot, ice constructs. I don't think that Killer Frost will be able to use any of her nasty hacks like transmutation on Iceman. He has resistance to that pretty much. He can pretty much reform himself. So if she does turn him into an icicle, which I don't even think will even happen because he has the AP edge, I think he'd just reform his body. I don't really think there's a solid way for Killer Frost to put him down because of his ability to just reform his body, which is like just annoying to Killer Frost. I don't think she'll be able to put him down if we look at it from this context. Now, I don't think Bobby will be able to use any of his transmutation on her too, especially since he doesn't really use it in character. On people, he tends to use the environment, tends to transmutate the environment, so I don't think that's going to come into play in character. Now, since she has the speed advantage and she has the ability to absorb energy, like heat from people specifically, I don't think she'll be able to absorb anything from Iceman. His whole body, his whole molecular structure, his whole body, everything in his body is completely made out of ice. It's cold. He's cold. He doesn't give off any heat, and he can control the levels. He can control the temperature in his body also and everywhere else. So if there's no heat to absorb, there's nothing for Killer Frost to drain. And plus, Killer Frost has like a really nasty weakness where if she does not absorb any heat and she stays cold for too long, it can cause a lot of problems. It slows her down, makes her feel tired, very hungry, very wheezy, and she can feel very tired and it can even incapacitate her if she doesn't get heat in. So I think this would probably be a big massive problem, especially if Iceman starts using his ice manipulation, his ice constructs, his ice blasts. That could pose a problem. It could start slowing her down, and especially since he has no heat to give off or give any energy to her through the heat, that could be a massive problem for Killer Frost, especially if this fight continues and prolongs. So overall, I just think that Killer Frost would get overwhelmed by the ice. She'd lose. I'd have to give victory more so to Iceman. There's just no way for her to put him down, even if we grant her AP and say like, okay, she can transmutate him, she can freeze him, which won't matter because he's ice. He can just keep reforming himself. He could make a lot of clones. He has more versatility with his ice, I feel. It's just more potent in that sense at least. So I don't really think that there's anything she can do in that situation. So more often than not, I just think Iceman takes victory. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my thoughts at least. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys on next one.